Okay, so it's always nice and easy, and particularly, of course, with the warmer weather, just recognise that you know, we're affected by whatever's happening around us, and in the hotter weather, tissues can swell, joints can swell, and that can affect your movement, obviously, but also a little bit of movement will help to disperse that heat. And before we start moving, just thinking about your posture, because your posture is something that will aid that process if you get it right. You don't want to hold yourself tight, and the basic posture, taking it nice and easy, just bringing your weight forwards a little bit, settling your weight back, that feeling of settling downwards, your weight dropping, so the centre of your body will dropping down through your legs, so less weight in the upper part of your body, and with your centre of gravity dropping, rooting down, just a more stable feeling generally. That helps to take some of the sort of strained effort out of the whole process of standing and moving, and beginning to turn in the centre of the body. Nice and easy. One of the images used for movements like this, when we turn, is it's like a weather vane blowing in a breeze. So we're looking for a posture and a way of moving that means that our body's not fighting against itself to move. As I said, that sense of your weight dropping down is an important part of that. Also important for this, this is a little bit kind of more obscure in the ways that the style of movement. Finding the path of least resistance, moving like water, finding the spaces in the body. There's various ways of describing this. Our approach to movement that is very distinctive in Tai Chi. I mean, again, in the warmer weather, we don't want to build up heat. But as we start to move and the blood starts to circulate and the energy starts to circulate, it can release that sort of stagnant quality that we can feel building up when it's hot. So in this position, we feel how our legs support us, of course. But we want to feel that our back supports the front of our body, so try not to pull your belly in or tighten across your chest. So that can have a direct effect on things like your breathing. And of course, when we breathe in, we're breathing in air that is cooler, we're breathing out the hotter, stagnant remains of the air, so that too helps to provide a sort of natural cooling system. And as you lose some of that tightness and stiffness in, particularly the upper part of your body, increasingly aware of the support that comes from the skeleton and associated tissues, so that we begin to realise that we don't need that stiffness, we don't need that tightness. And this is something that we're constantly sort of working with, and there's an intention there as we get more familiar with the overall feeling. We realise it comes and goes. It's a bit like, if you can imagine using a set of kitchen scales and trying to weigh something, and they're kind of going from side to side. And in a sense, with that image, we want to stand in the centre of the scales, at the pivot point. But our attention will go to one side or another as we notice things that are going on. So this quality that we refer to in Tai Chi as central equilibrium, it has a quality of stillness about it, stillness, if you like, of the mind, but it's not a permanent state. It will change. You know, if you're walking down the road, there's the slopes of the pavement and so on and so forth all have to get accounted for. So there's an intuitive element in maintaining this quality of equilibrium. You might liken it to if you're riding a bike or driving a car, you never go in a straight line. So, you know, the vehicle veers a little bit to one side, you quite naturally adjust to account for that. And with time, with the Tai Chi postures and movements, that starts to make itself felt. And of course, this is something that we can begin to appreciate in our daily activities. It's one of the sort of benefits of the practice that spills over into our daily lives. So this approach is very applicable in the kind of sultry hot weather we've been having, where movement can feel very difficult. But we find a way to move gently. Sense of rhythm beginning to build. Another aspect is really to do with that rhythm and the way our body begins to resonate to it. And it means that any one movement that we make is not made by the effort of one particular part of the body. In the end, we're looking for a sense of the whole body in movement. Obviously, some parts of the body are working more than others, and that can change a little bit from movement to movement. But still, some parts of your body are supporting, other parts of your body are complementing the movement, and we slowly become aware of those connections and bring an intention to moving in that way. Raising your arms just a little to a height where it's still comfortable in your arms, trying not to stiffen up in the big muscles of your arms and feeling them sort of moving just a little bit. Letting your hands drop down. And 1 foot forwards. Hip width across your feet, not too long a step. And a gentle push against the ground. And again, this thing about your whole body moving as one unit, we need to get that sense of using the legs, using the feet to initiate movement from. If you had a pile of boxes in front of you and you wanted to move them, if you pushed on the top box, then probably the whole pile would collapse. But if you push on the bottom, then it will move as one unit. So when we want this sense of our body, not as a fragmented structure, but as a holistic structure, if you like to think of it like that, then this idea of moving from the ground is essential. And in energetic terms, this is a major source of that energy. Bringing this in your legs, providing a very strong, almost bouncy energy that we direct forwards and backwards through the centre of our body. And then on the other side. Before we go into the main set of exercises, just go through some of the joints in the body, because as I said, they can swell up a little bit. The gentle movement will help to release that swelling. Just have your arms slightly out from the side of your body. I'll come a bit closer so that you can see more clearly what I'm doing. And simply rotating your arms, palm forwards and then back, just around as far as you're comfortable moving. Trying to feel that movement in to your shoulder. And I was talking about that sense of connection. And one thing you can do to help you feel that, if you put one hand here and as you turn your arm, try and have a sense of what's happening. When we turn the palm forwards, the muscles here extend out a little bit and then contract. Same thing on the other side. And yeah, I'm not going to ask you to do it. If we could comfortably put our hand on our backs, on the shoulder blade, you would feel the same sort of thing going on. So when we want to rotate the arms, we could sort of do the wrists or the shoulders, but actually we can begin to engage more than that. Now bring your hands up, palm forwards, and just like a fan going around. Wrists and fingers, elbows, shoulders, part of the movement. And then back the other way. Then hands on your hips. These just soft, there's a slight curve in these, and circling around, not too big a circle. Your knees will move just a little, not too much. Look, the major joints of the body, like hips and shoulders, are sometimes labelled as energy gates, movement gates. And so the name suggests that they're spaces through which movement happens. If you go through a gate and it's rusted up, moving through it is much more difficult. So it's important to keep the joints mobile. These are very simple exercises that can help to do that. Some of them at least you can do in a chair, of course. Go back the other way. So at the moment, moving in the centre of the body, head is staying not exactly, not dead still, but it's not moving from side to side but very much. But then here, we can change that. We can do that the other way around. If you put my arm down, if you push your hips back a little bit, the pelvis tilts and your head goes forwards, and then the opposite movement, don't go back too far. Feeling the connection from hips to shoulders. And then side to side, a suggestion of a curve in the spine, but don't go too far with this. You don't want to cause straining. And when we put those movements together, now what's happening is, I'm exaggerating slightly here. I would argue this should be a smaller movement, but you can see there's a little bit of movement in the centre. The result is that there's this sort of winding, spiralling movement up our backs to our head and our shoulders. It's nice and easy. And then back the other way. and count. Now, rest your weight on one leg, have the other foot forwards, just on the ball of the foot. And again, a small circle with your knee. You'll feel right from your toes up into your hip, the movement. And then back the other way. And then changing over. So and these allow for a certain amount of sideways movement, not too much. You don't want to go right out there and start pulling on muscles and tendons and ligaments. Just a little bit of movement is useful. And then back the other way. So coming to the parallel stance, feet directly below your hips. So we've got these parallel lines, our legs able to support us. And just referring to the knees, in general, what we're looking to do is to keep our knees pointing in the same direction as our toes to avoid this sort of twisting movement. So although we were circling them before, for the most part, we're not going to do that in these exercises. So from this position, just looking for that releasing feeling in our hips, let that draw the centre of your body down, loading the legs, and then feeling them expand, pushing back up, and then sinking down. Feeling again that movement, that energy generated through the legs, feet very firmly connected to the ground. So a feeling of the movement, the energy arising from the ground, filling up your upper body, and then draining away. Bring your hands around as though you're cradling the ball, and pushing up, the expansion in your body, pushing your elbows out, which draws your hands up. Turn your hands over as though they're resting on top of the ball. Imagine you're in water, just pressing the ball down. Really expanding and going back to the sort of style of movement, feel of the movement. And once again, looking for a particular way of moving, and the image of moving through water is one that can help us develop that. Great Tai Chi teacher T.T. Liang once described Tai Chi as swimming on dry land. Just be aware that, again, that the slightly sluggish circulation that we experience when the weather is warmer may mean that your legs or other parts of the body may actually start to ache a little bit more quickly. Just go nice and easy. Turning your fingers out, arms pushed away from your body. Exercise the wild goose. Expanding, contracting. You want to feel that your arms are being moved by that rhythm, by that pulse of expansion and contraction, rather than through having to strain in your back or your shoulders. So again, the movement is sometimes described as though the whole body is being massaged internally. So various ideas, various images offered, just make use of the ones that are useful to you. No one image is ever going to be telling you the complete story, and we find at different times, different images work better than others. At least that's my experience. And then letting your hands drop down and cross in front of your belly. Push out again, elbows being pushed away. This time drawing your fingers around in a smooth circle, just parting the clouds. One more time. And then your hands drop down, feel the weight of your arms as they drop down from your shoulders. And next time you push up, focusing on one side, dragon plucks the stars from the sky, winding your arm around. Pull down. Again, feel the weight of your arms and your shoulders, the weight of your body down through your hips, and then pushing up through the opposite side and down. Don't rush from one side to another. Take a moment just to feel this central posture, let your thoughts settle. One more on each side. And the intention is to promote this gentle movement within your body. Sinking down, but then coming up, not to lock your knees back, but to what I think of as the top position. Again, you try and have your weight a little bit forwards, just let your hips drop back. So coming up through the legs, there's this gentle curve in your knees. It's as though you've got a little ball tucked in behind each knee, and a little ball resting in each hip. So this rounded, spacious quality in the joints. You'll feel it very strong in the muscles of your legs, particularly the quadriceps at the front of the thighs. Bringing your hands to your sides and just resting there with your side of your arm touching the side of your hips. And this is the posture we're going to come back to in the same way that we did with the previous exercise. So then pushing up, lengthening through your back and spine, coming back down, bringing your hands to that resting position. Pushing out and back. Again. This time, as you push out, turning in the centre of your body, not too far, and back. Turn in the other direction. Just let your arms follow the movement. So as your hips turn, your shoulders move, your arms push straight out from your shoulders, as they do in this last movement of the set. It's called pushing in 4 directions. So don't twist up in your shoulders or your upper back to direct your arms. There's basically 2 movements with our arms in this one, which is a push upwards and a push sideways. But sometimes with the push sideways, we turn in our hips and waist, and that changes the angle that the arms move in, because it changes the angle of the whole of the upper body. So a strong focus of attention in your feet and your legs, and in that central part of your body between hips and waist. That's described sometimes as being like the hub of a wheel. So again, thinking of that sense of connection, the hub of the wheel connects the spokes to each other and is connected through the spokes to the rim of the wheel. One more round. Coming back again, letting your hands drop down, and again focusing on one side, pushing your arm away, drawing your fingers back, letting your arm swing up until it's in line with the centre line of your body, the line going through your nose, your navel, and straight down. Again, in the back of your mind, aware of the weight of your other arm hanging from the shoulders. So keeping an overview of your whole body, even while a significant part of the focus of your attention will be on sort of the movement that you're doing in those parts of the body that are directly involved. This time, add a little turn. Change direction, so change sides rather. Noticing any difference between one side of your body and another, it's not uncommon. And add in the turn. Now, and going back to this movement that we did earlier with the tilting of the pelvis, I'm going to go a little bit further with that. Please go nice and carefully with this. It can be quite strong on knees and back. You don't have to do it as a big movement, but I will, so you can see what's happening. You push your hips back, drop down a little bit, and then let gravity just pull your hips back down and draw your head up and push up. And again, so we learn to come up again without having to strain. This time, the arms following. This is called rowing a boat in the middle of the lake. And using that same movement for the next exercise, as you come up, hands palm down, turn in the centre, and then push the hips back, pushing your hands forwards and around. This is polishing the tape. Again, I'm exaggerating the movement a little bit. These can be quite small movements, so you can see from the back what's happening in my hips. And very carefully and gently one more in each direction. And so the centre part of the body becomes an increasingly important focal point for our attention. It's that central part of the body that, as I said before, drops towards the ground, so our centre of gravity, if you like, to drop towards the ground. When we move in the centre part of the body, like when the Hubbard wheel moves, it moves everything, both in physical terms and in energetic terms. So we guide the movement, particularly the movements of the upper part of the body, but also in the legs as well. And finally, I feel that the centre part of the body, with the focus of attention that you bring there, means that it almost becomes the place of stillness, the place where the mind can come to rest, to find what in Tai Chi is sometimes referred to as the stillness within the movement. And if you think about the hub of a wheel, a bicycle wheel, say, it's locked in to the frame. So the hub doesn't move, the wheel moves around it. So we have this curious combination of stillness and movement reinforcing each other. Because the movement itself, if you were to get something like a spinning top or a gyroscope and just sort of try to stand it up straight without it spinning and let go of it, it would fall over. If you could spin it, then the movement itself helps it to remain upright and still. So it's an interesting sort of contrast between the two coming together into one whole. Now, changing the stance, keeping the hip width stance, turn one foot out, the other foot forwards, keeping the width and about the same in length. and once again moving from the ground. So as you do this, you're trying to maintain this alignment of the posture. There's a very good chance that in the process of moving from one foot to another, you do lose it. So we always try and take a moment here with the weight in the front leg just to settle a little bit, and go back and to settle. So in several different ways, there are key points in the movements where perhaps we could argue that that stillness is emphasised. In fact, what's happening here is that the forwards and backwards movement, the horizontal movement, kind of changes to a vertical downward. But it reinforces this idea of stillness within the movement, because we can very easily find ourselves starting to hurry, to rush. So, oh, got to go forwards, got to go backwards. This gives us a chance just to settle. Going forwards, you end up with about 60% of your weight in the front foot. Going back, it's more like 70. But then, in that moment of settling in the back foot, you raise your front toes, and your body will just shift slightly. When you go forwards, you push your back knee in, and again your body shifts slightly. I like to have my foot very slightly turned out at this point, because it opens my hip and lets the weight drop down more easily. So gradually, more of your weight settles into your leg, and we begin to find that sense of alignment and equilibrium over one leg. Which is a simple enough idea, but it's a very tricky thing to do. If you find yourself straining to remain upright, you're tightening your shoulders or something like that, just remember previous exercises where by allowing the hips to drop, we can come up without having to strain. And then you can bring the back foot in, push it back to the same position, put the ball of the foot down, lower the heel, gently press the foot in, you plant the foot, move the weight back. Stepping forwards, heel, then the ball of the foot, then the planting, and forwards. Okay, and then the other foot forwards. It's the same thing, starting off with what we would call fixed step. Don't be in a hurry to go into and step in. Notice those moments when you do lose the equilibrium, you do lose the stability of the movement. Maybe you veered off course a little bit, or sort of leant forwards with the shoulders or something like that. Try not to hold your fingers, your arms, your shoulders stiff, just let your arms hang down. And then raising your toes and your heel. Stepping in. and then take a few steps through, so forwards or backwards, depending on where you have the room. Almost like you're walking on thin ice and you want to just test the ice before you commit your weight. Change direction. Shake. Okay. Go back to this forward stance, the bow stance. Have your right foot forward, so mirror my movements. And this time, the same thing, we're going to use this forwards and backwards movement, bringing our arms back in to the whole process. These forwards as you settle into your front leg. Your arms swing through and then back. So that movement, that energy that's come through your legs and the transfer of your weight now moves into the upper part of your body like a wave flowing through the exercise fisherman casting. And then remembering the effect of the centre of the body as you go forwards and your arms swing through, just turn. This is a movement called wind blows the willows, sinking back, let your arms drop down, settle into the back and do the same thing. The body contracting, transfer the weight and expanding. Contracting, expanding. Forwards, push your back knee in, step in. So use the front. Your other foot forward. So same exercises, starting with fisherman castanet, feeling the weight of your arms hanging from your shoulders, not in a dead way, but not straining in your shoulders to move, letting again that feeling of the whole body, it's the movement forwards here that swings your arms, not straining in the upper part of your body. And then turning into wind blows the willows, expanding, contracting, expanding, and stepping in. Again, taking that moment to settle, don't rush this. Again, as before, we can step through. This is the exercise. Dragonfly skims the water. Come in, put your foot in, and turn. And if you feel comfortable with this, just raising the leg. Start the foot. And you put in, check your posture, maybe raising the leg. Don't raise the leg if it's throwing your posture out and causing you to stiffen up. I'm going to change direction. Bring your feet parallel. Shake out. Okay. Open your hands together. And then tapping over your face. Over your head and neck. Down to one shoulder. Your arm. the side. And your arm. And around on to your back. Very lightly as you go on your back. Around your hips. Your legs. Light on your belly. And then the upper part of your chest. Okay, coming back to the parallel stance, weight a little bit forwards, hips settling back, and our closing exercise. Just letting yourself sink down, and this time push up. Arms coming out again. This time coming around as though they're going to hold a ball against your chest. Embracing the tiger. Drawing the ball in and then sinking down, returning to the mountain. Returning to that sense of equilibrium. One more round. And lovely. Thank you as always, everybody.